Well, hello, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and X. Looks like I'm streaming back on X again. My name is Frank Lavinia, and you can catch me at the following URLs: franksworld.com. It's been a big week at franksworld.com, actually. 11,000th post was posted Monday, and this isn't the 11,000th post like of all time. This is since ClearDB like basically nuked my old database. So this is rebuilding. So I'm quite proud of that. DataDriven.tv had a new episode where we had Dr. Um, Mike Orkin talk about this book. Really cool conversation. Talks about statistics and probabilities and casinos and all those sorts of things. Had a good lot of fun with that. And Impact Quantum, which is doing gangbusters, top rated podcast in quantum computing according to FeedSpot. Um, Record breaking traffic. I think we're on target now to get 4 times the amount of web traffic in August than we did in July. So I'm very happy. And of course, Frank's World is celebrating 30 years this October. Expect me to talk more about that in the future. But today, I am, as I watch the storm in the Atlantic, and possibly, although not, it's too soon to say if it's going to hit Maryland, or as we say here, the DMV, which stands for District, Maryland, and Virginia. But one of the most, I've always been fascinated by solar power for quite some time. I think I was a kid and I was at Disney World, and they had like science camps at Disney World, and they were showing kind of their solar collectors that they had there. It must have been like 10 years old, right? I think the sun was just invented. Uh, it's a joke, by the way. Anyway, one of the most popular videos I have is my unboxing of a solar backup generator system that I bought, I think at Costco. And I ended up using it for an actual IoT project when I was at Microsoft, the famous Frosty the Snowbot that I've talked about. So I figured, saw a deal on Amazon, looking at the storms in the ocean, looking at a track kind of sort of in this direction. And we had a power outage a few weeks ago. Plus, I think this week started off with a blackout warning, a rolling blackout warning for Baltimore. And that got me thinking, you know what? This is a small price to pay for a little bit of psychological comfort. So here it is. What's really cool is they did have a version with solar panels. So I could charge this up, I was going to say rain or shine, but you do need a little bit of shine. Speaking of shine, the sun has finally popped out of the clouds, so my light balance is a little messed up. So with that in mind, let's open up this baby and see what's in it. I almost said bad boy, but I think that's very 2010s. All right. So this has a battery and a solar panel kit. So if you go back and you watch my video where I did do this, it came with just the solar panels. I think it was about 150 at Costco. This was about $180 on sale. So it includes the battery and the solar panels. And I think that's a statement on how much cheaper solar panels have become in the decade or so since I last bought that system. Now I was gonna say since I bought a solar panel, but that's actually not true. I found a deal last Prime Day. Was it Prime Day or the Prime Day the year before of a solar panel unit that's kind of portable, right? It kind of folds up like a briefcase, but didn't include batteries, right? And if you know anything about solar panels, and I'm not saying I'm like an expert on it, but the energy storage is really the big issue here, right? It's not the generation of energy. We kind of more or less solved that. Are there room for improvement? Absolutely. Are there ways we can get it more efficient? Absolutely. But it's actually the energy storage aspects of it that are still kind of a challenge. So what I liked about this, and I'll show you why, depending on what I open first. All right, another cardboard piece. Let's see, what's this? This might be the solar panels actually, because it had this. The picture looks interesting. It looks like it's kind of this weird foldable setup, which would make it really portable, which is really nice. All right, yep, these are the solar panels. So it looks like the goal for this thing was designed to be portable. All right, and yep, this is it. Oh, got a little handle, some snaps. Let's see. Yep, and it basically will fold out with some snaps. And this does look like the solar panels. Come on. Yep. And there might be some more things to unsnap. There you go. This looks like it. Pretty cool. And if you feel it, it actually looks like it might actually be, I wouldn't call it ruggedized, but it's definitely not got that glass facade, right? This could probably bend a little bit. I'm not going to test it. But it does look like it's actually meant for portability. Here are your power connectors, right? And that's actually not what I was in the market for, oddly enough. This looks like a little solar panel. But that's not what I was in the market for. What I was actually in the market for was a battery solution. Here we go. What's this? Because I love having these portable power banks, right? So this is one. I think I was walking around a Red Hat conference in Vegas, and somebody's like, "Wow, you really carry a big battery." Yes, and that's because it has nothing to do with any kind of psychological insecurities or whatever. What it really does is, if you bring the tiny little power banks, you end up having to charge them and discharge them so often, right? Because they don't really hold a lot of energy. It's just easier to bring one big block, right? And I could charge even my laptop off of this. Now, it would probably soak up the whole source of the energy, but just the same, it's nice having a big battery block. And it's just as inconvenient to carry this as it is to carry a smaller battery block, right? Particularly if you're going around Vegas and you're in a conference, you have a, oh, what do you think? Yeah. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Dingo. The Dingo content system I keep talking about for franksworld.com. That and Impact Quantum. I got to fire it up on Impact Quantum too. It's named after him. All right. So this looks like the power adapters and such, right? Whoop. That looks important. Okay, so this is a USB-C to USB-C, and nothing else fell out of the bag. All righty. So much for that. Here are the instructions. But this is really what I was out for to buy, honestly, was this thing. This is the unit I was actually after. Because it is a portable battery, and I forget what the watt hours are on it, but it's pretty substantial. So I'd be able to charge, actually, my other solar, this is the input. I think the other solar panel I was telling you about also could plug into this. And let's see, does it have any charge on it? So what's cool about this is that it has a couple of USB-C ports, and my wonderful child of mine, my middle child, not the toddler, not the teenager, actually broke the other big super battery I have. He didn't break the whole thing. He just broke the USB-C port, which unfortunately is how I charged it. So this is interesting because it also has a car socket too. We used to call these cigarette lighters back when people smoked tobacco. People still smoke. It's not tobacco. Looks like, yeah, so that's it. And this is actually pretty small. It's heavy. So I like the handle. Same fabric as the solar panels. Let's see what else is in here. See the instructions. There was an icon on there that made it look like, this is not even instructions. This is just registration stuff. Let's see. I love how they also put in quick setups too, right? Because nobody has the patience to read actual instructions anymore. Safety instructions. Yeah, I don't think you can fly it. It's not permitted on an aircraft. So I have another one of these batteries. Almost like, I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm going to go on a trip and I'll be able to have power. No, there's actually a certain amount of watt hours you can have. And this is basically right up to the limit. Now, what's interesting is that I can bring 5 or 6 of these, depending on what TSA would say about that. But if I had one capacity that had all of this capacity, it would not bring it on board. My suspicion is that there's some kind of safety aspect to it, right? Like, so if you need to bring, what is the limit of this? I have to look up what the limit is. But the power, the watt hours, is basically what they look for. So this, boys and girls, is not available, not for use on an aircraft. You probably can't even check it in your bags, because when you check in with your bags, they say, "Hey, are there any quick start guide? Are there any like lithium ion batteries in there?" And let's see. There's an LCD screen. What is that one? So it does have a light. It says it's retractable. I didn't see anything retracting. Oh, look at that. That's cute. And I got this because if there are going to be power outages, whether it's because of the storm or because of incompetence of politicians in Annapolis, um, um, it'd be nice to have some kind of backup. So 3 is listed as the IoT button. I wonder what that does. There are QR codes, which, oh, look, you can connect it to your smartphone. So you could probably do some kind of automation or something like that, like get a notification. That's something I'm going to set up next, is kind of a home automation system. If you've not watched Network Chuck, he has a really funny video about that. It's just a matter of finding the pieces and parts, because I have outside of this little like area on screen, the office is actually kind of messy, and a lot of electronics and kind of projects that are half built. So charge your device, car socket charging. So you can charge by USB or the car socket. So I imagine you can plug that into a car while you're driving or whatever. That's pretty cool. I wonder if it'd go the other way, if you could like jump start a car if the battery's dead. Yeah, that's it. One of the ports could charge a laptop. So that's actually pretty cool. Recharge your power station. There you go. There's the thing. But yeah, I'm gonna check it out. It was on sale. You can. I don't think it's still on sale, but if you go there, that is my affiliate link, um, and you can help support these live streams, et cetera, and put dog food in the dingo's bowl, right? He's camera shy. Ooh, one more thing. Wanted to show folks, because I am really proud of this. So I just posted something to Frank's World, called it was about vibe coding. And just for the record, this guy had a very negative view of vibe coding, right? I'll just say that right here. So how do I swap? There we go. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, right? I do think that there's going to be consequences, both negative and positive, when it comes to people's careers. But I think that there's an enormous opportunity here if you know what you're doing. Now, I do like his analogy in that, you have to have some knowledge of something, right? So he's like, you don't design a car unless you have some kind of experience with automobiles. I get that, right? So if you're a race car driver, you may not be a mechanical engineer, but you would at least have some kind of feel for it. And I think that's really the sweet spot for vibe coding. And it was really this week. Actually, it was. All right, I'm going to share you all in on a secret. So for those of you who don't know, or you don't follow me on Facebook or whatever, not that long ago, actually a year ago now, a so-called friend of my wife had, we were doing some kitchen renovations, as my wife is often to do. And we had this refrigerator that, actually we had 2 refrigerators that we were going from a double refrigerator set up in the kitchen to a single one. I lost that fight, but that's not germane to this topic. And that's my $10 word of the day, germane. So this so-called friend said, hey, I'll take those fridges for you. I'll buy them, and $500 for the pair, and I'll pay you later. I'm like, okay. Right. And I was happy because I didn't have to deal with Facebook Marketplace. I didn't have to do all this nonsense. And let's see if I can find the little sticker. Yeah. So there's a point to this. So fast forward a few months. Hey, where's the money? Hey, here's the money. Now, during all of this time, this friend was reachable, but whenever we talked about like, hey, you're gonna pay us in parts. It's okay if you can't pay us. It's cool. We'll understand. No, no, no. But she had no qualms. I won a free ticket, actually two free tickets to a training seminar by Marshall Silver. Still haven't gone, by the way, but that's another story. And these are normally like $3,000 tickets, right? So I was excited to go, but apparently, in her infinite wisdom, she wanted to weigh in on that. She thought this guy was a scam artist, blah 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 blah. And she did all this information research on the guy, and he has had lawsuits against him and things like that. He does talk about this in materials. Like this is not. He was an entertainer and an entertainer in Vegas for like 20 years, and I get the impression that you don't work in that business without some kind of legal drama crossing your path once or twice. But she kept going on about how it's a scam. Basically, turned into a big fight with my wife and I about going during this. And in the while, I'm like, speaking of scam, is she going to pay us yet? And finally, around Christmas time, my wife had had enough of the pushing it off. So she basically said, hey, you're going to pay us. And then this lady just flipped the switch and she went crazy on my wife on the call and on the, over the phone or whatever, and just started berating her, coming to all sorts of conspiracy theories about me. And as I always like to say, if I was part of some big, massive conspiracy, I'd like to think I'd drive more expensive cars. I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyway, apparently I'm some evil mastermind. Um, and she got really nasty, really personal. And this person who was a friend of her, my wife, well, friend in air quotes, for like 20, 30 years, just didn't do this. So she blocked us on all social media and just really became a really bad scene. And I thought, don't get mad, make memes. So I have a whole bunch of fridge memes or fridge stuff memes. But one of them, I decided to vibe code because a lot of people have been telling me all these great things about vibe coding. So I made this game here called Fridge Thief. So if you go to, maybe I'll share the link, right? So I vibe coded this in like 5 minutes on a Saturday morning, last Saturday. And this, I was sold, right? So I'm going to start the game. Yeah, mean and rude, loser always. Might spell out somebody's name. And you'll notice, turn that music off. Reminds me of Berserk. I don't know if you remember this, or is it 2084? All right, so now what happens is that there's police in the picture, and then if you get within a certain range, it'll do that. And this is entirely browser-based, JavaScript, vibe coded in about between iterations, like 15 minutes. I'll be generous. Think about that. I had the idea of making like a fridge stuff video game. I think the idea came from college buddy of mine, Raj. Shout out to you, Raj. He recommended Grand Theft Auto type thing, Grand Theft Fridge. So that became Fridge Thief. So that's when I really got into vibe coding. And if you follow my work on Impact Quantum, that's the great thing about I saw the comment. That's the great thing about this whole situation. I'm never short of an idea for a prompt, right? Whether it's Claude Code, whether it's, making lyrics about songs, making songs about fridge thievery videos and things like that. I'm never at a loss now for an idea for a prompt because I will always default towards a frumpy woman with pink hair stealing refrigerators, which the AI is pretty creative about. So my co-host here on impactquantum.com, Candace, shout out to you, Candace, has been working a lot on collating these country reports, right? So if you go to country reports, she's basically kind of went through these different countries that are out there, Austria, or all around the world. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we vibe code some kind of way to visualize all this hard work? And that, boys and girls, and artificial intelligence of varying degrees of sentience became the Quantum Global Report. And if you want to play around with this yourself, again, it's entirely JavaScript, entirely HTML, no plugins. I have an aversion to developing front-end software, which is funny because I used to do that all the time, but I did it in Windows. and I was a big fan of Silverlight, UWP, and things like that. So I always get a little salty when I have to code in JavaScript or whatever. So now I don't have to learn it. I can kind of do this, but I do know the principles around it, right? So I could look at the code and make some adjustments, things like that. So I'm going to go here, and this is basically going to show you the world. Was that a Disney song? I can show you the world. So basically, we've computed kind of the readiness index. So we click on the United States. It'll basically walk through. This is the readiness index, and the readiness index is this kind of metric I came up with. I am writing a blog post about that because I know it's going to come up, and it'll basically show kind of all of this. I also added some other cool stuff too, the ability to change the speed of the Earth, right? Just playing around with it. And I can pause the Earth, right? I can rotate it around. I can click on Australia. And then if you click on the view detailed, I had to change the text on this. It says view detailed country report. I'm just going to take you to the page that is tagged with Australia, right? So you can see all the latest news that we posted to the blog, which, by the way, I'm not sharing that screen. So if you go here, you'll see kind of everything that's been tagged with Australia. And that's because we have a blog now that's on the site. So it's not just the podcast. So we have been, Candace has been writing feverishly on this. So definitely check it out. So we have a lot of content out here. So if you want to stay up to date on all things quantum, just go to impactquantum.com. But again, the global report, so you can kind of see. And what's cool is you can kind of see patterns emerge, right? You know, North America, Western Europe is largely kind of green. So is the big players in Asia. But you're also seeing smaller players in a couple of different regions. Indonesia, Malaysia, the South Korea report is coming. So if you mouse over a country and it's kind of like little highlighted like this, oops, come on. That means the report's coming, right? So it's like TBD, right? Let's see. And you see Israel is doing a pretty solid job in terms of what they're doing in quantum. We actually the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have related episodes, right? So I could change that text there. It'll say related episodes. So whenever we talk to someone from the country and we talk about that, the Nir Alfasi, I believe is his name. He runs the like an incubator in Israel, right? So you would go straight to that episode, right? Just another way to explore content. But I also want to call out Latin America is serious about this, right? So they're 3.2, right? So they're not like China or the US, but they don't have to be, right? But they are getting in on the quantum game, which is pretty cool to see that kind of visualized here. And if you want to, because I'm a big data head, come on, I do got to fix some UI concerns. You go to table view, and table view lets you, surprisingly, let you look at it like a table. And I also made it, there you go. You can export all of this to a CSV, right? So if you want to do some data crunching and things like that, you can do it too. Big flashback to my days in civic tech and open government data. So you can kind of explore all of this. And there's also filters here. You can kind of just show countries that are this minimum readiness index, right? I might add a maximum one. So if you just wanted to see, but again, I think it's probably going to be more once we get more countries. Who's getting $1 billion of funding, $1 billion plus, right? Not surprisingly, it's mostly the green countries. Who's getting 500 million and up? It's going to be these countries. So it's really cool. I had a lot of fun coding this because it was basically like a back and forth conversation with the agent. So I have to say I'm suitably impressed with it. Really impressed with it actually. So I know that's not quite the thing here, but hey, I got to keep the power going because I need to talk. I need to talk to my AI, right? I need to keep vibe coding. So I'm going to play around with this, and then once I get this set up, I'll probably do a proper video. These things usually ship with some charge in them, but apparently this one not. It is a sunny day, so I'm going to go test out the solar panels in just a little bit. And with that, I will say thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching this on, and always go to franksworld.com. You can pick this up right there. Gives me a little bit of a, an up, an in. What would that be? Any case, with that in mind, I'm going to sign off probably for the weekend, and let me know what you'd like to see on the stream or any other unboxing. And yes, that is, I see a chat. Yes, that is a genuine Windows XP box, which I think I got from the Microsoft store when I was at MVP. You can see the little circle logo on it. And I'm glad I didn't scrape it off, because now it adds a bit of nostalgia to it. So with that in mind, I'm going to play the cool outro graphic and wish you all a wonderful weekend. And if you are in the path of the hurricane, stay safe. And yeah, actually, that would be cool. I could take that globe animation and then pull down data from the National Weather Service, so you can kind of like track the hurricane. Now it's a question of, do I have the time to do it? Now it's a question of, is it worth the tokens? I think that's really, it's going to flip the software cost paradigm on its head. All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to sign off and wish you a wonderful, wonderful day.